welcome back to my channel. So it is one of my most favorite times of year. It is a mermaid, and of course I wanted to make a mermaid doll. Mermaid dolls are some of my favorite to make. I just really like them. I don't know, they speak to me. So we're gonna be making one today. I made this doll in collaboration with a bunch of YouTube doll artists. I'm going to be linking them all down below in the description box. We have the Hatter dolls, I Could Do That DIY, Dolly Pop, Enchantarium, Steffu Doll, Electric Bunny OOAK, and Blurred Colors Art. Check them out. I think everyone did a fantastic job. What am I making? So I feel like every year I make a mermaid princess and I really enjoy making them. I like come up with lore in my head that they're from different kingdoms and stuff. It's pretty fun for me. Last year I didn't make a princess though because I was part of an unconventional mermaid collab, so I made my princesses a knight. And that was really fun, but I seriously missed making a princess mermaid, so we're making one this year. I haven't painted a G3 Lagoona yet, so I wanted to paint one for this. And a while back, I bought this like Ariel doll literally because it has an articulated tail. It was pretty cheap too. It was like, I think like 15 bucks. So I bought it to snatch the tail. And by the way, since this doll is a G3 Lagoona and the rainbow fish doll that I made about 2 years ago was a G1 Lagoona, I came up with the lore in my head that they're related. They're like cousins or something because they're the same doll, just different generations. Now this isn't just any princess mermaid, this is a diamond princess mermaid. And it's not just any diamond, okay? If you guys are familiar with like diamondy, rhinestoney craft supplies, there's like clear diamonds or rhinestones, and then there's these beautiful rainbow ones. And she's a beautiful rainbow princess mermaid diamond lady. I want to show you guys the bases that we're going to be working with a little bit more, or specifically this tail. I am truly going to be Sid from Toy Storying it up and snatching it, so it's pretty legit. Like, it has a lot of movement to it. I've never seen a fashion doll that has an articulated tail. I thought it was awesome. So I'm going to be cutting off all of this Lagoona's hair, which is fine by me because I hate this Lagoona's hair. Ignore my dirty Keurig water. I'm going to be putting her head inside this water so that I can pop it off. I find that you have to do these G3 heads in 2 different passes, so you kind of like pull a lot of it off, and then you have to soak it again, and then pull the rest of it off. I don't know why, they're just super, super secure. After her head's all nice and heated up, I take my screwdriver and scrape around the inside of her head to loosen up all the plugs. I pull them plugs out through the neck hole with a needle nose pliers. With 100% acetone, I wipe all of the face paint off, and I must say, I do like Lagoona's new face mold, but I don't like it as much as the old face mold. I miss her like really round spherical eyes. Her lips were so pretty, and she had a chubbier face. This one's more like angular. Again, this face mold's really nice, but I just don't think it's as nice. She was giving fish before, and she's just not giving fish anymore. She's giving pretty, just not fish. Anyway, we're gonna be rerouting her hair, so I paint her whole head with some lavender paint. I'm going to be using yarn. This is just some multicolored yarn that I bought a while back, and it is my favorite texture. I love it when they're like kind of slightly tightly wound like this because they brush out so pretty. They give you this beautiful like natural wavy texture, and it's gorge, and I love it. And I don't even straighten it, I just reroot it like this. To reroot the hair, I take my reroot tool, I wrap a little bit of the yarn around my finger, and then wrap some of it around the top of the reroot tool and plunge it into the head. I ran into an itty bitty problem when I was like 90% done. So her head split really bad. I'm gonna have to glue it back together, which I'm going to be doing. And then I'm going to be using wefts for the part. But before I do that, I took some Fabri-Tac glue and squeezed that in through the neck hole. This is to ensure that the rooted hair doesn't just like pop out when I go to brush it. To glue the part down, I'm using craft glue. I just place the weft backwards and then flip it. And I do that on either side of the part. This is her hair. I think it turned out really pretty. We're getting into the face up, so I spray the doll 3 times with Mr. Super Clear, waiting 15 minutes between each spray and wearing a respirator mask. And then we get started on the face. It is truly my favorite part. We're starting with the eyes as per usual. And her eyes, I feel like they're like molded on just really big, and I wasn't really feeling it. So I'm sketching them in slightly smaller. I blushed her little cheeks with some pink pastel, and I wanted to lean more into like the pink aspect of her skin, making it look a little bit more fantasy-like as opposed to trying to make it look more like a peach or something. So I am shading around the eyes with a like bright purple instead of a brown or some sort of a skin tone like color. Since she's a little fantasy mermy babe, I wanted to put more unnatural tones on her skin, so things that I typically wouldn't use. So I'm putting some yellow around her eyes and on her chin. For the lips, I made them blue, honestly because I was inspired by the new Monster High Skulltimate Secrets Lagoona doll. She had blue lips. I thought they were really pretty, so I gave my doll blue lips. I do like how this doll has cool tone lips though, in contrast with my rainbow fish mermaid who has like yellow, very yellow tone lips. To contribute to the fantasy skin some more, I'm taking teal and I'm adding that around the face as well, so like the brow bone, a little bit underneath the eyes, stuff like that. We love shading a nose around here, so I'm shading around the nostrils and underneath the nose with purple pastel. We have the teal, but of course I gotta add my blue tones around the face because I love them so much, so I'm doing that on the forehead, like around the chin, underneath the eyes, all that jazz. We love a nose, but we also love a waterline, so we're coloring that in with a peach pencil. I feel like y'all might know the drill by now because I literally say this in every single video, but we love veins, so we're adding veins. So veins are just like branch-like pencil marks, and they're around the eyes, the forehead, underneath the jaw, just like all over the place, because like you need blood like all over the place, you know what I'm saying? By the way, if you guys ever want to do veins on your dolls in the way that I do them, I recommend getting an incredibly light blue, specifically Faber-Castell pencil to do them. Faber-Castell pencils just get very, very sharp, so they work really well for veins because they'll give you very thin lines, and they're not freakishly pigmented, so they're just kind of ideal for veins. I gave her a lavender to blue gradient in her eyes, and I ain't even gonna lie to y'all, adding that lavender was like so pointless because it just ends up getting covered up later, but it's there in spirit, you know? We gotta give them eyes like a little smokiness, so I'm tapping some black on the upper lid and underneath that upper lid where like the iris and the white of the eye is. I lost some of the definition in the eyelid lines that I sketched in at the very beginning because I just went in with a bunch of pastel. So I'm bringing back that in certain areas with a dark purple pencil. I'm also doing this in like kind of a strategic way to further shade in the eyes. So I'm kind of concentrating it on the outer and the inner portion of the lid lines. We gotta highlight this, so I'm taking my white pan pastel and I'm putting that like all over the eyes, brow bone, below the eyes, nostrils, all that good stuff. We're starting the more graphic highlights, so I'm doing so with a white colored pencil, and I'm adding that on the upper lid, inner corner, underneath the eye, and the upper lip. Every gal needs a pupil, even if you a fish, so we're adding a black circle to the iris with a black colored pencil. I love sparkle on a normal day, but I especially love adding macropearlic pigment all over the face for Mermaid. I took my blue Pearlix pigment and I tapped that on her lips to give her a little metallic lookie. With white watercolor that I'm pulling directly from the pencil, I'm adding the last stages of highlights around the eyes. I'm doing this in all the places that I added pencil, but I'm not going completely over those lines. I'm just accentuating them a little bit in certain areas. I'm flicking some lashes on the upper and lower eye. I'm specifically doing this with the Faber-Castell black pencil. I really recommend this pencil if you guys are bad at lashes, or even if you're just good at lashes and you want a good pencil for lashes, because this pencil is really hard, so it gives you nice fine lines. That was my cat sneezing, by the way. She scared the shit out of me. Something I want to mention about lashes, I'm very passionate about lashes, by the way, is that I've seen people make them just like sticking straight up, and just don't. You want to make them like a little bit curved. I am using my Winsor & Newton fine liner, and I'm just adding some flicks of black going towards the pupil from the ring around the eye. I like this little, really like fuzzy quality. I feel like I've been talking about it for like a year. I feel like you guys know I like this little fuzzy quality to the ring around the eye. So we're doing that. And I'm also going over the lashes with some black paint that I'm pulling from the pencil. You can also use the Winsor & Newton fine liner for the lashes as well. I just kind of like the taper more that I get at the end of the lashes with paint. flicked some lines of light blue paint radiating out from the pupil. We're giving her lash line a little highlight with some duochrome purple metallic watercolor paint. I'm just adding a line to that upper lash line. I decided no, that wasn't enough. So we needed to take out the fluorescent pink paint, and I added that to the front of the lash line. I've been kind of a simple beach lately with my catch lights, so I'm just doing a little dot and flicking a line out. And I'm taking that white as well and just adding little hints to the light blue lines that I added radiating out from the pupil. I'm adding white on top of some of the light blue lines. I haven't done this for a while, but for some reason I decided it was necessary for this doll, so I took my white paint and I'm just flicking that next to some of the outer lashes. For the last stages of highlights, I flicked some white lines coming from the white of the eye into the iris. I also added some dots of white around the corners of the lips, the nose, the cheeks. At this stage in the game, you may be asking why she has no eyebrows. One, I feel like no eyebrows is kind of beautiful sometimes, but two, we're gonna do something different with that area, so it's gonna be addressed later. We'll love a glossy mouth, so I'm taking my Tamiya gloss and I'm adding that to the mouth. I'm pretty happy with how her face paint turned out. I would say that Lagoona, the new one, G3, is not my favorite face sculpt, but it's still a nice one. On to the theft of Ariel's tail. I'm sorry, girly pop, but we're going to steal it. So I'm going to be cutting off her torso. Horrifying, I know. I cut it with this rotary tool. I hate using this rotary tool to cut things. I just, like, half the time it like breaks in half and then it flings across the room. I'm just so scared one day it's going to just like stab me in the head, even though I'm wearing a giant mask, so it like doesn't make any sense. But it could happen, okay? It's spooky. Since we're doing a little switcheroo, I gotta cut the torso off of the G3 Lagoona doll as well. So it's gonna be going something like this. At first I was like, is this too long for a torso? But I don't think it is. I can't really cut it any shorter because there's just like essential parts on both of them at the point that they're at right now. I'm hot gluing it together, and I'm gonna be taking epoxy sculpt and just making her not look so terrifying. So I'm just filling in her stomach and her back. I actually specifically bought new epoxy sculpt for this project because my old one is crusty. And this one is just, oh my god, y'all. Like, if you have some crusty epoxy sculpt, when you get new epoxy sculpt, there's truly a difference. It's so much like smoother and pleasant to work with. The Ariel belly button was like real low down and weird, so I'm raising it up a little bit by indenting her belly with a needle. I'm first painting the skin white because the gray is just like quite dark, and once that dries, I'm going in with a peachy pink color. Honestly, it was quite hard color matching this doll with acrylic paint. I don't know why. I think because it's like, it's peach and it's pink. But I kept getting too peachy and then I kept getting too pinky. So I just had to work with this, and it's not an exact shade match. This is the tail fin that it comes with, and this just ain't it, sis. So we're going to be cutting it off with some wire cutters. I'm going between this thing and just trying to snip it. This was harder than it looks. Okay, it was pretty hard to do. I finally got it done though, and this is how it kind of like attaches together. Wow. Now, originally for the tail fin, I was gonna do it out of foam and just, you know, artsy fartsy it up and kind of give it some details and all that stuff. But I was like, this just doesn't go with the general aesthetic of like the tail and the doll. So I want to do something a little bit more simplistic. So I cut this shape out of vinyl. To give the fin the veined look, I'm taking these crystal drop things. It's basically like, I don't know, it reminds me of glue, and it's 3D and has a very fine point to it, so you can get very thin lines. But I am outlining the fin, and then when I have those like dips in the fin, I'm bringing them up to create veins. I'm trying to be pretty confident and fast with these lines because the more confident you are with them and the faster you are with them, the thinner they'll be. The tail has some really beautiful little details on it, so I'm going to be bringing those out with paint. Once the tail fin is dry, I'm going over the crystal drops with some lavender paint. This is how her tail and fin came out, and I'm not mad at the outcome. I think it looks pretty good. I have like a jillion of these dragonfly glazes, so let's use some of it. I am putting this on top of certain seashells as well as on top of the veining of the fin. I also add some paint to these little Johns right here. Now we blush. So you guys know I used all the same tones that I use on the face, on the body, to give her a more realistic look. A spur of the moment decision was made to fill in her arm fin, so I'm doing so with a fluorescent pink watercolor. For the tail, I wanted a little bit more protection on the painted aspect, so I'm taking some matte varnish and some macro Perlix pigment, mixing them all together, and I'm going to be painting the tail with that. Super glue has kind of been like my best friend lately, and also my arch nemesis because I glued two of my fingers together, but it's very strong and I feel like I've only come to realize that recently. I'm using that at the very bottom of the tail. We're going to be sandwiching those bottom pieces together with the fin in the middle. After everything is assembled and painted, this is how her tail turned out. We're going to be decorating her with a mixture of diamonds and this like weird kind of plasticky duochrome stuff. So the first area we definitely need to add is some diamonds on her eyebrows, or her lack thereof. I bought the itty bittiest of diamonds for this project. I decorate her torso with that plastic duochrome stuff, and then I'm going to be putting diamonds on top and next to it. I also decorate her tail with diamonds, which is off camera. Onto the hair, I gave her hair 2 little braids, and I've been wanting to decorate braids with rings for a while, so I have these little tiny rings and I'm just pulling them apart and then pushing them back together where her braids are. It's a pretty easy process, and in my opinion, it looks really nice. Of course, a princess needs a crown, so I bent some wire and I'm hot gluing a mixture of these round diamonds and pointy diamonds together. Her crown a little simple, but I dig it. I've had these like diamond beads for a while, and I put some of that as well as a chain on her crown. Off camera, I sewed some ribbon to a ring and put that around her wrist. Some of my other mermaids have like a staff and a trident and all sorts of stuff, so I want to make this lady a scepter. I bought some cheap earrings that I'm going to be taking apart, and I'm going to be super gluing these to the top of a card holder. I'm snapping off the very top of it and cutting it to the size of my liking and super gluing those into place. At the very bottom, I super glued a gold bead. Here's her little scepter. This was like extremely easy to make. It took like all of probably 10 minutes, and I think it's so pretty. This is my gal and all her stuff, and I must say, I think she turned out pretty cute. I didn't really know what to expect because like her tail is kind of like crazy colors. So I was like, oh no, is it gonna be a little too much? And it is kind of a lot, but she's kind of a lot, but in the best way. Mermaid dolls are, again, truly my favorite dolls to make. I look forward to them every year, and I've said this before, but I'm gonna say it again. I need to start making more than one a year. They're just too fun to work on. If you guys made a mermaid doll, let me know down in the comments. I'd love to see it if you want to link it to me. And definitely, please go check out everybody who made a doll for this collab. I think they all did a swell job. I sincerely mean that. I think that all the dolls look really cool, and I'm excited to watch the videos, which are going to be linked down in the description box. So if you guys like this video, subscribe. It makes me happy. Happy Mermaid, and I hope you guys are having a beautiful day. Bye!
We'll be right back.